Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GTHub podcast. And once again, I am Forzar18, and joining me for this week's show is Rob.
Hi, guten Tag.
Of course. And, of course, the laughing that you hear in the background would, of course, be our resident pigeon.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes, and with all the formalities out of the way, we will get down to business here, and that would be presenting yet another slideshow presentation of news about racing series, really, which may or may not involve mental breakdowns, but we will see. So, without further ado, we get started here with our little presentation on the IMSA State of the Series, or as Stuff is so helpfully titled, How to Do a Press Conference Sort of Properly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, who would have thunk it, really?
And also, what was quite good as well is that after the press conference the following morning is that IMSA Radio actually had Scott Atherton in the commentary booth to do an interview and answer questions from fans regarding this as well.
And I didn't see that, so if you had anything of note, you must tell me now.
I was just pointing out that.
Oh, fair enough. I thought you had something proper to say.
You're relying on Rob for information.
I know, it's a dangerous prospect.
Absolutely.
Absolutely horrible. But, yeah. Moving past Rob's incompetence, here we go. We will start with, of course, one of the more positive aspects of next season, and for 5 more seasons after that, is that NBC Sports will be taking over the TV rights for IMSA coverage, and that means that IndyCar and NASCAR will be on the same group of channels as IMSA. So the Motorsports Hub, it would seem, in America, NBC Sports.
Bad time.
Oh yeah, it's a rebirth of Speed Channel, really. Only thing it's missing is F1, but that's on ESPN. So yeah.
Sadly.
Well, here or thereabouts, but anyway. There will be 9 hours of NBC Network coverage for the WeatherTech series, which is an 80% increase over 2018. The majority of the programming will be on NBCSN, so everyone can watch it, unlike people who only had Fox Sports 1 but didn't have Fox Sports 2, and then had to flip over. And also, there will be a working app, which is another good thing, unlike, the Fox Sports Go app that never seemed to work, really. Or was also never live when it should have been live, but yeah. And also, the NBC Sports Family Networks will be home to the WeatherTech Championship, the Challenge Series, more on that later, and other single make series such as the Lamborghini Super Trofeos and the
Prototype Challenge.
Prototype Challenge, yes.
And the Porsche Cup.
GT3 Cup.
The Porsche GT3 Cup, which may or may not have a TV deal. I'm not quite sure how that works out.
Right. Because I think Ferrari Challenges run sort of separately to everything else.
Yeah, Ferrari Challenge is a separate little entry or entity because they don't even race on the same weekends.
It's interesting.
Yeah, well, they're separate, so. But moving past that one, we come to the 2019 schedule for the WeatherTech Championship, which
tracks.
Well, yes, proper tracks, and also sees continuity, because if there's one thing that IMSA does correctly is continuity with their schedules. So we start off first in January with the Rolex 24 at Daytona, which runs from January 24th to 27th. Yeah, no, shock horror.
I've never done that before.
It's almost like there's a pattern to this.
I know, it's actually quite worrying and... Oh.
It's a bit bizarre. There's actual common sense. Can't believe it.
Common sense? That's not allowed in motorsport.
I was going to say,
not.
hold on. we're talking. Hold on, we're using motorsport and common sense in the same sentence. That cannot be right, can it?
Well, it's only downhill from here, really.
Yeah, true. Could be worse. Could be the SRO press conference.
Moving past that one. Hey.
Hey.
We move to the second endurance race of the year, which is also the second race of the season, and that would be the Mobile 1 12-hour Sebring from March 14th to 16th. And then we get to our first.
Also be running with the WEC at that same weekend as well.
Ah, yes, that's right. The 1,000 miles of Sebring WEC race, yes.
The absolute chaos and that is going to be the Sebring weekend, and I just hope the coffee machine is constantly topped up because, oh boy, all those people in the media centre are going to need it.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They have a day to sleep it off.
What a day for the caffeine rush to end.
Well, I mean, it's Friday before Sebring, so they'll be fine. Sunday's there for sleeping anyway, so.
No, Sunday's just for sobering up if you've been in the campsite.
Well, that takes about a week to sober up, I think, if you're particularly in Green Park. But yeah.
Oh, Green Park, the myth, the legend.
Also turn 10, but yeah. Moving past that, we go to the beautiful sunny streets of Long Beach on the weekend of April 12th to 13th for the Bubba Burger Sports Car Grand Prix at Long Beach, which is the shortest race on the schedule.
Joint's shortest, I think.
I think no, it's actually the shortest because Detroit is slightly longer.
Is it? Oh wow!
Yeah.
Yes. The Long Beach race is only 100 minutes long, as opposed to Detroit being an hour and is it 2 hours? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Long Beach is only 90 minutes. However, I don't know if it extends the time for next season, considering the switch around of things with, oddly enough, involving the SRO and Pirelli World Challenge. So we will see if it's actually a 90-minute race or not.
Yeah. Also, there is a link to merch in the bio, by the way.
Yes, of course. We will go past that point to May 3rd to the 5th, and that would be a visit to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Another yet remarkable return for them. And there was a slight caveat here with the next date, and that is the Detroit Grand Prix, which is May 31st to June 1st. And there was a caveat with it when it was announced last Friday, or 2 weeks ago Friday, pending approval from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. However, since this announcement has come out, it's been confirmed that the Detroit Grand Prix has been renewed for a deal through 2021. And there were options for a further 2 years through 2023 with a new contract, and there will be an increased fee for that race from the Detroit Grand Prix Association from $200,000 to $450,000, and track teardown and setup will be cut down. So it's good news for that event, which looked like it might be going away. So we can actually button that date up and confirm that IndyCar will be back alongside IMSA there for that weekend.
Yay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Moving past that, we go into the lull because on that day also, that weekend rather, is Le Mans testing, and also the historic layover from Le Mans to Watkins Glen for the Salem 6 Hours of Glen, which is June 27th and 30th. And that would mark the third of the Endurance Cup races. More on that news later. And past Watkins Glen, it's a doubleheader, or not a doubleheader, but a back-to-back race with Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, also formerly known as Mosport, July 5th to the 7th.
Oh, the track formerly known as Mosport.
Yes.
On the
July 19th to 20th, it's Lime Rock Park for the Northeast Grand Prix, which is a GT-only race for GT11 and GTD cars. Road America is August 2nd to the 4th, which is another race that needs to be extended. Obviously, right?
Yeah.
And then we get to the second of the GT only rounds, which is VIR on August 23rd and 25th. And of course, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on September 13th to 15th. And we finish out the season in Road Atlanta on October 10th and 12th for Petit Le Mans.
I mean, quick question. If you could extend any one of those races to make it more of an endurance race, which one?
Road America.
Road America.
Road America, hands down.
Same here. What do you reckon? 1,000 miles, 10 hours?
At least 6 hours. At least 6 hours.
At least 6 hours, yeah. I'd settle for 4.
I'd settle for 20. I mean, I'd be happy with any extensions to that race, but it probably won't happen for the time being due to the increased cost it would mean for the teams.
Yeah, just cut off one of the races that need to be there. But then again,
that's the problem. Which race
that's
do you cut?
Which one? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the season starts with a combined total of 36 hours in Florida, rather.
Well, that's actually another thing they didn't actually announce. So that must have been canned. That was only a 1 year thing, I guess. The 36 hours of Florida promotion. And now we get to the expected 2019 schedule and how it makes up the classes there. So, of course, at Daytona, we get all 4 classes. And yes, I said 4 classes, not 3 classes, as we have this year. And that would be the GPI, LMP2, GTLM, and GTD cars for Daytona and also Sebring. And then when we get to Le Mans, it's the first reduction to 3 classes, which is the prototypes and the GTLM cars. Mid-Ohio, it's returned to normal with all 4 classes. Detroit is once again 3-class field rather. Long C, which is DPI LMP2 and GTD, because of course GTLM cars will be over testing at Le Mans for a test day.
And everyone who needs to compete in that race will probably be catching the good old red eye from Detroit all the way to Le Mans.
Well, yes, and there's more information on Detroit later on as well, because it's rather important news for the GTD guys. But the Detroit round is only 3 classes, and that's, like I said, Watkins Glen is once again all 4 classes because it's a round of the Endurance Cup. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park has all 4 as well. Lime Rock is once again GT only round, so GTLM, GTD for those guys. Road America's 4 classes, VIR's GT only. Laguna Seca is 4, and of course finished season in Atlanta with all 4 as well. So
I mean, and I'm quite glad we don't have the prototypes at Lime Rock.
Yeah, I think so are the drivers.
Yeah.
I think some of the GT drivers would be quite happy they don't have to deal with prototypes there either. Yeah.
I think that most of the prototype drivers would be up for having maybe even a separate race just for the DPIs and LMP2s, like Grand Am used to do at some of the shorter tracks like Iowa, where they used to have to split the field so the GTs would have a race and then the prototypes would have a race.
It's a bit sketchy, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Lime Rock in a proper high downforce car like that is pretty damn sketchy, yeah. And that's putting it mildly.
Well, just add a prototype only race for VIR, job done. There you go.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
American Le Mans Series did it, so I don't see why you couldn't have a DPI, which is slower than a LMP1 car was. So yeah,
probably not by much though. Once the DPIs get adjusted slightly, and more on that later, I don't think we'd be looking at much in it.
More on that later. Now we switch to the TV schedule here for those of us in the States. Pertinent information for us, and that would be that, as you can see, NBCSN is the majority of the coverage. NBCSN covering, interestingly enough, the entirety of the Rolex 24 weekend. Sebring, of course, being split between NBCSN and CNBC. NBCSN for Long Beach through Watkins Glen, and the Canadian round being live on the major network of NBC, and then from Lime Rock to VIR, it's NBCSN. And interestingly, the last 2 rounds of the season will be aired live on NBC. So Laguna Seca will be live, and NBC appears to start the coverage for Road Atlanta and finishes on NBCSN.
So, quick question.
Yes.
What's the difference between NBC and CNBC?
Well, NBC would be like the equivalent of like your BBC or some other channel, where it's like free to air for anyone. CNBC is a cable channel, very much in the style of NBCSN, except CNBC is primarily business channel, so it's got plenty of dead airtime on the weekends, so that's not a problem for them. It is, however, less circulated than NBCSN, so that might be a problem. But I think the numbers for it are still more than FS2 was.
Right. Cheers for that.
Quite also possibly might be more than Velocity as well, which carries the WC here.
Oh, the Motor Trend-ish, on-demand-ish thing.
Yeah, Velocity, yeah, same thing really.
Yeah, cheers for that.
Yeah, well, just food for thought for those who don't live in the States. Of course, here we have some bragging by the series, which we can skip through. It's all very positive, though, but we don't need to listen to that. And of course, we have the interesting bit of news, which is at the end of this season. And that would be the IMSA Sports Car Encore. Or the IMSA Michelin Sports Car Encore at Sebring, rather. And I can hear the question already being asked, what is that? So we'll find out in a minute here. And that would be the season-ending event for all of the AM classes, basically. So LMP3 cars, GT3 cars, GT4 cars, and TCR cars.
Yeah,
quite a mix there.
Yeah, I was going to say, because here in Europe we have the Michelin Le Mans Cup, which is for LMP3 and GT3 cars.
GT3, yeah.
Yeah, from memory, there is a slight difference in terms of performance between those cars. It's certainly a lot better than having LMP3 and GTE on the same circuit, not going to lie. And we saw at last year's Barcelona 24 Hours just how quick the TCR cars de-restricted are compared to a GT4 car. So,
well, I suspect because it's a non-points race, that's the WIC will be turned up for all of them. So we'll get to see how well these classes race together, I think. Unrestricted, quite perhaps.
But either way, that's actually going to be potentially a pretty decent haul of cars available as well.
Well, yes, because considering it's LMP3s, GT3s, GT4s, and TCRs, so that all somehow rhymed. Yeah.
Yeah, GTD, Grand Sport, TCR, and Le Mans Cup. So not Le Mans Cup, Prototype Challenge, rather.
Well, and realistically, well, actually, no. There's no defined class structure to it. Like you were saying, like Prototype Challenge or GS cars, because this event is actually not just open for IMSA entrants that are racing. It's open to anyone who wants to bring in a car and run. So you can race from elsewhere and come do this random event if you want. It's not closed to anyone.
I can just picture a load of teams from the European Le Mans Series, Le Mans Cup, Michelin Le Mans Cup, just putting their cars on a shipping container.
That's actually the goal, really, because that's what they're trying to do. Trying to entice teams to come in and run next year.
Yeah. I mean, because for some of those gentleman drivers as well here in Europe, to be able to say, yeah, I've raced at Sebring, you know, that is, for some of them, going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing.
As well, like...
Of course, there should be a caveat, actually, with this, and the fact that the GT4 and TCR cars, well, actually, and the GT3 cars, they have to be sold by major manufacturers in the US. So there is a caveat in which cars can and cannot run.
So no KTM crossbows, no Sin R1s.
Oh man.
The Renault Alpine, no, probably won't be allowed to race because
McLaren can't run as well.
So they won't be allowed to
run in GT3 because it's not an IMSA partner. So I don't think that would be allowed to run. So I also don't think the GTR would be able to run either.
But would the GT4 version of the McLaren, the 570S, be allowed to run as a SRO GT4?
Well, that's a good question. I don't actually know if someone could actually run the 650S if they cited or not as a GT3 car, because no one bothered trying. But I don't see why they couldn't if it's a partner.
Yeah.
That's something I actually didn't think about until now, because I just figured McLaren couldn't be bothered, so no one showed up.
And TCR, I think if you've got a Hyundai i30, you'd be allowed to run because Hyundai are pretty big in America. Audi,
that's
obviously
open for debate because I don't know if you can run that car per se.
It says on the slide I'm looking at that cars from mainstream automotive manufacturers with sales in the United States. So
okay, so the
I would have thought the
qualify.
i30 would qualify. The Alfa Romeo, not too sure about. The Peugeot, probably not. I'm trying to think. What was the Honda Civic? You'd be allowed to run. Defo.
I expect the real-time guys to come with lots of Civics, probably.
And maybe even one or two teams from, say, WTCR potentially could bring one over. Although I'm not sure if that clashes with Macau at all. I might have to quickly double-check that.
Yeah, the list of cars that could run possibly would be the this Type R TCR, the Golf, obviously, from the VW, the Audi RS3s, which are all that run in IMSA, really. Let's see here. I think the Alpha could run. I'm not quite sure. Of course, the Hyundais. Which other TCR cars?
The Seat.
No, Seat couldn't run because it doesn't sell in the States. Actually, I think that might be the extent of it, really.
I'm on the WTCR website as we speak, looking into this. Well,
while he looks into that, I will note the driver rankings for this, which is that there will be no platinum drivers in this race.
Ooh.
Sorry, Alonso, you can't come here.
Yes, sorry, Alonso, you can't race here. No F1 driver can race here, rather. And there will be a maximum of one gold driver in the field, or not field, but in one of the cars. There will be a minimum of 2 drivers and a maximum of 3. And SI driver ratings are not required.
Get in there. It's the weekend before Macau.
So Macau or WTCR? Which one holds more value? Yeah, kind of situation.
I mean,
there.
Macau is the more internationally prestigious WTC, touring car race in terms of like global reputation and that.
Yeah.
And of course, this being held November 9th to the 11th. And also on this weekend, as we flip to the next, which is the schedule, you will notice that it says the IMSA Global MX-5 Cup will be racing that weekend. And with that caveat comes the fact that Mazda will be providing a $50,000 prize for the 2018 Global Mazda MX-5 Cup Challenge.
Oof, that's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Good going, actually.
I'll take that.
Yeah, well,
So
anyone's open to enter it, really.
I don't have an MX-5 though, so.
Oh, that's a caveat. You need a Mazda MX-5 Cup car. Yeah. Well, global MX-5 Cup car, rather. You need one of the new ones. But the driver who has the best combined finishes from the 2 races will win $50,000. Second will take home a nice payday of $20,000 as well. And third, taking home just a paltry sum of $10,000. So the podium will be rewarded nicely. Oh, it's nothing. Hardly a spare tire bill, that.
Yeah. The cool thing is, though, is that I think, am I right in thinking it's open to any driver? So if, say, Fernando Alonso wanted to race in it, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
We had Kyle Kaiser running in it last year when I was at Laguna. So.
Let me guess. Did Kyle Kaiser win by any chance?
No, he did not. That would be Patrick Gallagher. Or was it Nathaniel Sparks? No, Nathaniel Sparks won the first one. Sparky, for those who follow the MX5 Cup series. And Patrick Gallagher, I think, won it last year. Or the year before. I can't remember the exact order in which those two won it, but they won the first two. And this year will be the third one. So, and we switched from Laguna Seca to Sebring. So it'll be a good show. Definitely a good show, because as the schedule here shows, Friday will be testing, practice for the Mazdas, of course, and Saturday will be 3 one-hour practice sessions, with the qualifying and practice in race 1 for the Globe MX5 cars, and race 2 for the Mazda Cup cars will be Sunday, and there will be a 4th practice for the Encore for all classes with 30-minute session. And of course, qualifying will be the same day with 2 20-minute sessions, and the race will be a 4-hour race from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. local time. So, pretty good little endurance race to cap off the season there for IMSA. And now we come off to one of the main support series for IMSA, that being the Prototype Challenge series.
Yay.
Yay, someone has mislabeled the title slide here. Quite possibly stuff, because I don't think Mazda's involved with the series any longer. But as you can see, it will be a 1-car series next season, which is just LMP3 cars. Open to every eligible LMP3 car, being the Norma, the Ligier, the Ginetta, the Ave Riley, and the ADES? Or, I think it's the ADES. Is it the ADES?
The ADES?
Yes, because I think they still sell those.
I guess they still sell them.
Well, they're still an eligible LMP3 car, so if someone wants to run one, they can run them.
Someone's brave enough to run one.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And now we come to the schedule for the Prototype Challenge, and that sees a change of format for them slightly, in that there are 2 endurance races for the calendar.
Ooh.
Really? Ooh.
Ooh.
Yes.
The first change being that the Roar Before the Rolex 24 test, which will be the only test for the WeatherTech Championship, actually. Well, sanctioned test, rather. It's running January 4th to the 6th. We'll see a 3-hour Prototype Challenge race to open the season. And from there, we move to Sebring to be a companion event to the Sebring, 12-hour Sebring, with a 1-hour 45-minute race there. And then we move on to Mid-Ohio for a 1-hour 45-minute race there. And when we cross the border into Canada, we'll find a 3-hour endurance race.
Oh, 3 hours in a prototype challenge car at Moss, like CTMP. That's going to be pretty tough.
That should be fun to watch. Yes. And of course, we go to VIR for a 1-hour 45-minute race there for the penultimate round. And we finish the season out at Petit Le Mans weekend at Road Atlanta with a 1-hour 45-minute race there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, race dates to be determined. But that they're determining the schedule should be a Friday or a Saturday. Looking at the schedules. And now we come to one of the major tipping points here, which is the renaming and rebranding of what was currently known as the IMSA Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Yes, I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but that's what it is. Or if you're so inclined, you could shorten it to the Conti Challenge.
Conti series.
You know, or that too. I prefer Conti Challenge.
Conti boys.
Conti boys. But here we get to the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, and the Michelin bit in that will tell you the major change of that series. That being Michelin will be the sole tire supplier. Oh yes, Pirelli's on Michelin. Yes.
I thought they were using Hankook.
Oh god.
Of course, yes.
Start using Bridgestones.
Well, I mean, you want a tire that's hard as a rock, yeah.
They actually have to have tyres by 4 different tyre suppliers on the car at all times.
Ah, this makes perfect sense.
Bridgestone's front left, Pirelli's front right.
Hankook left rear, Michelin right rear.
Right, so the right rear tire will work perfectly fine, and the right front tire will fail immediately.
Yes.
Just pop.
Yeah. Someone forgot to take off the Formula 1 compound there.
Lots of grip for 2 seconds and then it falls off a cliff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bubblegum chewing tires.
Indeed.
And we come to the schedule here. Or not the schedule, but the details of it, rather. That being a continued growth year over year, according to their graphics here, which is using the entry for Road America, which saw 15 GS cars for 2017, and it increased by 10 for this season. And the 2019 class structure, as you will notice, only has 2 on there. Yes, and sadly, the ST class has been discontinued. So our lovely little buzzy Mazdas and Minis have gone away. For
and the Caymans as well, because that was funny having to try and explain to my dad last year that yes, that Porsche Cayman is in the same class as those Mini Coopers. Yes, and actually having to try and explain that no, Dad, they are in the same class, they're racing each other for position, okay?
That's the brilliance of the ST class, though.
Yeah, and those Mazdas looks like a hell of a lot of fun to drive as well.
Well, they sound a hell of a lot of fun, too.
Well, you would know because you've actually seen them at Laguna Seca. I haven't seen them.
Spiritual home for the Mazda MX-5s.
Exactly.
Well, was the spiritual home anyway. But next season we'll see a reduction for the GS and TCR cars. And NBCSN will also cover this series with a delay of 1 to 2 weeks and 2-hour cut downs for the races. And of course, all will be streamed live on IMSA.com.
And good luck to NBCSN for trying to cram an entire IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge race into just 2 hours.
Well, I mean, they'll only really have to cut down the endurance races. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of them are exactly 2 hours, so.
But
there's not much to cut down.
But then again, the races in that class do happen to be rather good indeed.
And speaking of that races, we come to the calendar, which is basically the WeatherTech schedule, minus a few races. Those being the street races at Laguna. Okay. Long Beach, the other L.
And Detroit.
And Detroit. Yes, thank you, Pigeon, for saving myself. That, of course, we see it with the January 24th and 25th. We have the 4 hours at Daytona to start off the season. And then we move to Sebring for the 2-hour race. Mid-Ohio for another 2-hour race. And Watkins Glen is the final 4-hour race of the season. And Canadian Tire Motorsport Park gets a 2-hour race. And Lime Rock, Road America VIR, Laguna Seca, and Petit Le Mans do as well. So, pretty good schedule there. Continuity.
Lots of lovely, jubbly continuity.
Right? And now we come to the Big Boys series, which is the WeatherTech Championship.
Big boys.
The big boys here.
Absolutely.
And when
Boy.
I say big boys, I mean the big boys being the prototype category, which we will see has split.
Sounds painful.
Well, I mean, divorce is always painful, but sometimes it's necessary.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Well, we have a reduction, or not a reduction, but an addition of another class here. Basically, common sense has prevailed at IMSA, and they have decided maybe we shouldn't have DPIs and P2s in the same category anymore, because it's a bit difficult to balance the two.
Just a bit.
Yeah, just a tiny bit difficult.
I mean, it may have gotten to the point that, yes, the DPIs are now probably less powerful than the GTLM cars, but still. And if they say they've taken 100 horsepower off the DPIs, that would mean the DPIs are running around 500, whereas I think GTLM's running around 510, 515, I think.
Probably was, but now they've been let off the leash a little bit now that the P2 cars have finally won races.
Yeah, but...
And by P2 cars, I mean Core and JDC Miller with the Orica.
Yeah.
Yes.
So...
oh, that's going to be fun next year with those DPIs fully turned up.
But like I mentioned, the 2018 class had one category, which was the DPIs and P2s combined. And 2019 will be the DPIs and the LMP2 class. But DPI BOP, too many letters to get it correct in my mouth there. DPI BOP will be set by the technical committee, and the BOP will no longer be based on the best WEC P2 car. So there's that. And there's also a change in the prototype 2 class in the fact that the GTD sporting regs concerning amateur driving regulations and drive times will be adopted there, because P2 will become a all pro-am class. So we'll abide by the same GTD driving standards and driving times, as we can see on this next slide here. Which means that only one platinum driver will maybe be in a P2 car at one time. And that drive times will be balanced based on driver combinations, whether that be 2, 3, 4, or 5 driver cars, by limiting the maximum drive time of gold and platinum drivers. So what they've effectively done here is made the AMs have more of a say in the outcome of the races here in the Pro-Am category. And of course, we see the Truman Award being given out for the best Pro-Am LMP2 car. That being the bronze or silver rated driver with the highest season-long championship position. So once they win that award, they will be eligible to compete at the 2020 Le Mans 24 Hours. And if there is a tie, then the driver with the highest cumulative drive time will be awarded the trophy there.
Looks like quite a nice trophy as well, judging by the image on the slide.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. And now we move past that to the DPI and LMP2 homologation table, which was made an open question thanks to the super season of the LMP2 cars at WEC. Which, as we can see here, both classes started using them in 2017. And will divert into 2021 for the IMSA series, whereas in the WC, their homologation will end in 2021 with an extension for 2022. on the books for IMSA for any current LMP2 cars and DPI cars. So that should be interesting if they decide to adopt the new LMP rules for the WC. And you've both gone quiet.
Hello?
Okay, Rob just gone offline. Perfect. I'll continue on anyway. Yes. Here we get to the 2019 GTLM class. Yes, Rob, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. Yeah, so if we said I'd gone offline.
Well, we couldn't really hear you, so.
Hold on.
While he fixes his audio cable there, we'll move on to GTLM, which is pretty much left unchanged. Except, like we see the DPI and the LMP2 cars, the homologation table is slightly affected thanks to the super season and the fact that the GT Pro cars, as they run in the WC, will run to 2019 Le Mans thanks to that's when their homologation will end thanks to the super season. And the IMSA series, however, their homologations will run into 2020. So both of the factory classes have had their homologation dates, or years rather, extended by a year. So just to throw things in flux.
If it means more GTE cars being entered for GTLM, then I'm well up for it.
Yep.
Well, we shall see, really.
Yeah.
But after 2020, they should be on the same calendar. However, because of the weird way that the super season falls now, that seems to indicate that Corvette next season will be sticking with the C7R and not going with their new car. Just quite yet.
The new Corvette, which is probably not really much of a Corvette.
Oh God.
Oh God, you're one of those people, are you?
No, I'm just throwing it out there because
you're one of those people, are you?
Yes, he
well,
is.
I mean, there is no road car similar to the GT car. In fact, we might as well just call it GTP.
Well, unlike BMW and Ford, like I said, unlike BMW and Ford, the Corvette will very probably be out racing when the road car comes out. So, because Corvette, does the road relevancy thing, as odd as that sounds.
Yes, I know, and Ford just builds a prototype, dumbs it down to a GT car, and then enters it, probably, I don't know.
And then builds the road car 4 years later.
No, they done their homologation by counting all the Lego sets.
Yes,
see, look, it's a complete car. There you go. Like, they even actually made a little, I don't know, they could have made even a little Lego factory somewhere inside the factory and just lined all the cars up outside. Like that famous photo of all the old Porsche 917s outside the Porsche factory.
Just thought that's what I tried to do.
Well,
they should have done that.
BMW, you just don't follow the rules. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. We move into one of the major changes for the WeatherTech Championship next season, and that being the changes in GTD. And of course, we have a change to driver ratings. Yes, I know, the most acceptable and probably the most boring conversation besides BOP, but here we are.
Are they going down as far as lead now?
Well, that's up to IMSA's discretion if they want to go into giving out random gradings of metals. Yeah.
What about wood?
Oh, wood. Yeah, that would be more my driver rating, come to think of it.
I think you would be more like the lollipop guy, but okay.
Well, given I need to actually still get a road driving license, yeah.
Well, you don't need a road license to be a race car driver.
True.
Yeah.
It
Look at
might be
Verstappen.
helpful, but you don't need one.
True, I suppose.
Well, I mean, look at Max Verstappen, but then again, that's why he crashes and everything, so there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, just had to throw shade at something. Of course, we see the FI driver ratings here, which are somewhat bizarre sometimes. But now we have the IMSA Driver Evaluation Committee, which is made up by Paul Walter, who is the chairperson, and the FI Driver Rating Committee member, Simon Hodgson, who is the VP of Competition, Bo Barfield, who is the race director for the Prototype Challenge and, of course, the WeatherTech series. We have the series manager for the WeatherTech series, Mark Roffoff, Senior Director, Racing Operations, Jeff Carter, Director of Technical Regulations and Compliance, and we have the Director of Technical Systems on that committee. And the point of this is to review each driver's recorded pace based on standardized performance analysis, i.e. past, present, and future performances. And they will be assessed based on their performance. Decisions of the Driver Evaluation Committee are submitted to the FI Driver Ratings Committee prior to the next published applicable driver rating period. However, IMSA may change things if they don't like the FIA driver rating. So that's the whole point of why they have this committee. The explicit aim of this committee is to get rid of sneaky silvers, or as Scott Atherton called them, fake silver drivers.
And it makes David Heinemeier Hansen happy.
Well, anything to make David Heinemeier Hansen happy, yeah.
Yes, and I've just seen Pigeon's comment in the YouTube chat. The Green King Prototype Challenge.
With the IPA class.
Yeah, for the IPA class.
Thank you for explaining that one, because I would not have understood it otherwise.
No. The Brewdog Punk Prototype Challenge.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Sadly, I don't think that would be a winning combination there. I don't think they have enough money, though. Surely it should be Heineken. They sponsor everything these days.
Hell no, Heineken's rubbish, man.
I never said they were good. I just said they had a lot of money.
You could have those Heineken stars that F1 have.
Yeah, exactly. It could be like Mario Kart. And we immediately fade off of Rob. Now we move to the driver combinations for GTD, which sees one platinum driver per car being eligible to drive. And IMSA will balance the driver combinations, that being 2, 3, 4, or 5 driver cars, by limiting the maximum drive time of gold platinum drivers, very similar to LMP2 in that regard. And of course, much like LMP2, there is an award for the best amateur driver, this one being the Aiken Award. This being the bronze or silver rated driver who places the highest in the season-long Drivers' Championship. And they will be eligible for this trophy. And they will also go to the 2020 Le Mans 24 Hours. And if there's a tie, a driver with the highest cumulative drive time will be awarded the trophy, much like LMP2. And it must be said, LMP2 drivers, or the AM that wins the LMP2 trophy will go into LMP2, and GTD driver will go into GTE AM. And unlike past years, under this scheme, you don't have to transfer your auto entry to an IMSA team. So you can bring it to any team you want. That has been changed by the ACO, because previously it was just IMSA teams that were eligible for that. So that's been changed as well. And here we have a change as well to the procedures regarding AM drivers. That being bronze and silver rated drivers will receive an extra session prior to qualifying, and only bronze and silver drivers. And any driver who participates will be allocated one extra set of dry tires. In qualifying, bronze and silver drivers are only permitted to qualify. And those drivers that qualify, bronze and silver, must start the race as well. So, yes. That very much cuts down on Patrick Long setting blistering fast laps. Yeah.
Damn it. on the plus side, we get to find out just how good Cooper McNeil really is. So, not very.
I think we already knew how bad he was. I mean, great he is.
Lol.
Did I say he was bad? I meant he was great. I mean, I didn't say that. And here we have another change to the GTD regulations. As you can see, this is very much a working logo here. But we have the IMSA WeatherTech Sprint Cup for the GTD cars. So if you're counting at home, yes, this is yet another title that GTD teams can win.
I think they're on about 50 now.
Can't be that bad. Could be SRO, really.
God. SRO, where you could win one of 524 championship titles.
And none of them mean a damn.
Yes, and nobody is going to care.
Let's see here. So we see that the WeatherTech Sprint Cup schedule, very catchy name, by the way. Wonder if that's actually the working title, but I guess it technically is. It will kick off at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course on May 3rd to the 5th. The thing to note here, as it says with the second round of that being Detroit, Detroit will only count as a round of the Sprint Cup calendar and not as a full season race for the GTD guys.
That's interesting.
So you can enter in different championships. So if you were a GTD team and you entered in for the full season in GTD, that being from Daytona all the way through to Petite, Detroit would not count towards the full season championship. That would be like a drop round. It's a non-points round for that. You would only score points for the Sprint Cup for Detroit. So that's a money savings there in GTD. Of course, we see also it's Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, July 5th and 7th. Then we have Lime Rock, of course. Then we have Road America, VIR, and the important bit, the WeatherTech Sprint Cup will conclude at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca.
Live, of course, on network television.
NBC. Yes.
Yeah.
On the daddy NBC channel, as Dan has told us.
The thick boy NBC channel.
Proper NBC.
Boy.
Oh, dear. And yes, now we come to another change, which involves another name change for something. That being the current Endurance Cup, which is the Tequila Patron North American Endurance Championship, which is now be simplified to the IMSA Michelin Endurance Cup. So we can call it the IMSA MEC, if you will.
The MEC.
The MEC. Not to be confused with WEC. But yes, we will have the traditional races there, which is, of course, the Rolex 24 at Daytona, 12 hours at Sebring, the Salem 6 hours at the Glen, and the Petite Le Mans for that. And all champions will be recognized at the WeatherTech Night of Champions, the night after the race at Petite Le Mans. So for those counting at home, we have 3 separate championships for the GTD guys. So as we can see them all nicely laid out here in a nice little graphic. For those counting, that makes Daytona a Daytona Sebring, a WeatherTech round, and a Michelin Endurance Cup round. Mid-Ohio being a WeatherTech round and a Sprint Cup round. Detroit is only a Sprint Cup round for the GTD guys. Watkins Glen is, of course, a WeatherTech round and an Endurance Cup round. So is the race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Actually, rather, that's the Sprint Cup round. And from Lime Rock to Laguna, same. And Petite Le Mans is a change as it's a Michelin Endurance Cup round. So, yeah. If you thought that scoring was a bit confusing already with the Tequila Patron title, then get ready to brush up on your math skills, because you're going to need it, quite frankly. Because the point scoring has yet to be determined, but I suspect it might be a bit confusing.
And then you've also got the Aiken Award as well for the bronze and silver drivers.
Well, that's, yeah, as well.
So they've got 4 championships they can compete in, sort of.
Sort of. Well, that's true, actually. Well, if that's your concern, really. Apparently GTD is confusing, according to Mikhail. Don't really know why it's confusing. Makes perfect sense. There's the regular season that runs Daytona to Petit. And then
apart from Detroit.
Apart from Detroit. Well, actually, no, because the only change for Detroit is that GTD is the only class that races that weekend that doesn't actually compete for the overall championship that weekend. It only counts for the Sprint Cup in GTD. However, if you're in DPI or an LMP2, it still counts.
Oh, yeah.
The only change is in the GTD class. As you can see here, there's 10 races for the overall championship. Then there's 7 Sprint Cup races, and then there's, of course, the traditional 4 endurance rounds. So it's not quite as complicated as you think it is. So there's that. And all right, now we get to the fun bit of the season, and that would be the 50th anniversary of the series here.
I've just seen this slide.
Wait, what? What are you two laughing at?
Can you not see
69. 69 is in the sexual position.
Wow,
oh god, I just barely saw what you're looking at. Wow. Way to just drag it through the mud there, Rob. Wow. Anyway. Next season is the 50th anniversary of IMSA, as you can tell by the special golden logo here, which means that a year-long celebration and marketing activities for the series and the 4 cornerstone events, the dedicated brand identity, which is all gold, as you can see, and there will be anniversary merchandise, and of course, a very important detail here, you can have some historic and iconic liveries to look forward to.
Oh, yes, please tell me the Porsche GT Team North America are going to run a tribute to the Brumos cars.
Well, I wouldn't put it past them, really. Possibly the Wright Motorsports guys running a Brumos Porsche. Expected, probably.
Champion Racing livery?
Only if it glows in the dark.
Yes, it has to glow in the dark, though, yeah.
Prerequisite, it must glow in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, of course, we have this very, very impressive high-gloss book here, celebrating the anniversary of the... Okay, there we go. I'm waiting on Kazuo, because he's controlling it, so we're on the book now. That's why I was being slow on purpose, slowing it down. There we go, we're caught up now. Yes, apparently the ooh from Rob means he hadn't seen this book before.
I have seen it before, but... Oh, I do want that. Oh, I want that. That looks nice.
Yes, we have this very high-gloss 50th anniversary book, which will be made by Racer Studio. The very lovely guys at Racer Magazine doing this, of course. And it will be launched and on sale Saturday, August 25th at the Motorsports Reunion, with an announcement and autograph signing with Scott Pruitt and Hurley Haywood. And of course, this book will have the 50 great drivers in IMSA series history. So that should be a book to look forward to for those who are in the Monterey area that weekend. Snag one while you can, because it'll be very limited. I also imagine quite expensive.
Yes.
But worth every goddamn cent.
Yeah. If only I could snag a ticket. Yeah. And of course, we close out on this very lovely IMSA logo here, which is the laurels under the 50th anniversary logo. And of course, set at a very accurate 27 degrees, which is the historic IMSA era lean.
Absolutely.
So,
does look rather nice.
lots and lots of good things to look forward to for 2019 with IMSA. And
good to know that at least one motorsport organisation can get it right.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
IndyCar's doing things quite nicely at this moment.
I mean, good to have one series press conference that doesn't leave us all having a mental breakdown, let's face it.
I'm going to ignore that one. But moving past that and sticking with the IMSA news, which is that JDC Miller Motorsports has nicely timed their move up to the big boy class, which is the DPIs, with a pair of Cadillac DPI VRs for 2019.
The biggest of the big boys.
The biggest of the big boys. The biggins, if you will.
The talkiest of the big boys.
Well, now that they've been unleashed, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that makes them come back to the big engine. The big original one. The 6-liter V8, as opposed to the 5.5 one.
I mean, that 5.5 litre one is a bit childish.
I mean, you're losing about half your displacement.
Yeah, you're losing a lot there with just the 5.5 litres compared to the 6. 6 litres for the win.
However, JDC Miller has gone to the Cadillac side for 2019, and they will be testing their new cars hopefully in November. And there's already a driver signing with them, as they've exercised their option to keep Steven Simpson in the team. Which isn't a bad call on their part.
Very good call in their part.
Extraordinarily good call on their part.
And we've also got other pro DPI manufacturers actually planning on ditching the exclusivity contracts they have with their current teams as well.
Who would that be?
I'd say Nissan, and possibly in a year or two's time, Mazda as well.
Well, you say Nissan. It's not really a Nissan so much as it's a Onroke that's badged as a Nissan.
An Onroke with a
because
Nissan
Nissan
V6.
has nothing to do with that program. Yeah. Well, really, it's the ESM had a 2-year exclusivity contract with the Nissan Onroke DPIs. So at the end of this season, their exclusivity with it will be over. So anyone who's interested with a car will have to come to terms with Onroke if they want one. And ESM says they'd work with any teams that want a car so they could develop it jointly. So we'll see if anyone bites at that. Of course, on that same vein, as Rob has said, Mazda won't have any customer DPIs for next season. However, if they can make the car a contender in 2019, customer cars for 2020 would be very likely, according to John Doonan. Also, according to John Doonan, a Mazda TCR program will be on the books, possibly for 2020, but not before that. And the champion in the Global MX5 Cup category will possibly get placed in the Michelin Pilot Challenge next season, like it did for Patrick Gallagher this season. And the last bit of IMSA news, which I should have done before announcing that, ties back to, of course, the 50th anniversary of IMSA, and that it will be the honored mark for the 2019 Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion. So, lots of good things coming from that.
Absolutely.
And that is pretty much the IMSA news coming from that one. Other than, of course, there will be racing this weekend at the IR with the GTLM and GTD cars. But moving past that, there was something that happened literally as we were getting ready to go on air.
Did it?
Yes, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, it's not like anyone's been waiting all day, let's face it. Yeah, apparently some dude called Fernando confirmed he was retiring from F1 at the end of the season.
Oh, is he one of those midfield drivers?
Yeah, he is. He's one of his. I thought he was a back marker. But yeah, he seems to be quite handy in a sports car.
Yeah, he's alright.
So he's all right. He's a handy driver in a sports car.
Bit like Colin Brown.
Well, funny you mentioned Colin Brown. He's actually in the running for an IndyCar drive.
I know. So yeah,
I don't know. I mean, were we really surprised that this announcement came down?
Not
No.
really.
no.
Kind of expected, really,
It was
from
always
his
gonna
demeanor. And he pretty much released a flowery statement saying, "After 17 wonderful years in the sport, it's time for me to make a change and move on. I have enjoyed every single minute of those incredible seasons, and I cannot thank enough the people who have contributed to make them so special. There are still several Grand Prix to go this season. I will take them with more commitment and passion than ever. Let's see what future brings. New exciting challenges are around the corner. I'm having one of the happiest times ever in my life, but I need to go on exploring new adventures. I want to thank everyone at McLaren. My heart is with the team forever. I know they'll come back stronger and better in the future, and it could be the right moment for me to be back in the series."
So he's going on a sabbatical like one Mr. Mika Hakkinen did at the end of 2001.
You mean one that never ended, yeah.
Yeah. I think he is actually still on a sabbatical with an option. I think
he's going to replace Alonso for next season.
I think McLaren still has his number somewhere, yeah.
Or
Wait a minute,
Hakkinen.
maybe that's the announcement. Yeah, we're going to see Mika Hakkinen finally come back. Yeah.
Yes, the Formula One World Drivers Champion from 20 years ago, Mika Hakkinen, is going to be making a comeback next year. The Finnish driver who made his debut in 1993. Nah, just kidding.
I mean, stranger things have happened, so really, we don't know.
What stranger things have happened, like life being allowed to compete in F1?
Well, I mean, Alonso going to F1, making a dual F1 campaign, and yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's basically leaving, and he's not really leaving, which makes his statement a bit puzzling to me. He's leaving F1, but he's not leaving McLaren, because all signs point to him going IndyCar racing with McLaren at this point.
That's pretty
It's
much
just
guaranteed.
a matter of who lands the deal, really. Because it's certainly probably going to be Andretti, but at the same time, it might be Rahal. So, yes. It also could be Harding, but that's very unlikely.
Yeah. That should be fun to find out.
Yeah, Alonso has finally decided to make the announcement we were all expecting him to make at the end of Le Mans. And we'll see him in an IndyCar probably pretty soon. If not that, then he'll be in WEC for the next foreseeable future. Considering that Michael Andretti has already said on the record that if Fernando went IndyCar racing, it would be for the full season and not just for the 500. So
yeah,
he's either in it for the entirety or not at all.
Oh, so he might be doing it for just the Pocono 500. Interesting.
Well, I mean, you were 50-50 there. It's only 2 500-mile races.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be quite funny, though. Not the Indy 500, just that one specifically. I've always, ever since I was a small child, I've always loved Pocono.
Yes, absolutely. I've always wanted to win there. Yes.
I've always wanted to win at Pocono. It's a special track.
That's the real Triple Crown.
Yes, the real Triple Crown in his heart. Le Mans and
Pocono.
Monaco and Pocono. Yeah. And of course, he released a video, which was really strangely edited and melodramatic. That's you can see it on his social media pages. And there's that. But also sticking with Fernando, nicely done. The rumored announcement that was supposed to hinge on Alonso coming to IndyCar has happened. And that being Scott Dixon. After being chased with large amounts of cash around the IndyCar paddock to go various places, he's come home for an 18th season, it seems. And Rob has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. It's just I'm having a look at something which has been, which I've been tagged in on the Discord at the moment.
Okay, hang on.
But I do know what you're talking about. It's
I've just been told.
Signing for.
Yes, go on.
So as I say, is for Ganassi, Chip Ganassi Racing next year. Confirmed that Scott Dixon has re-signed for them, which is excellent news and keeps up one of the best and longest-running partnerships, I think, in IndyCar.
Yes, he will be at Chip Ganassi Racing for an 18th season.
Yeah, so what are you going to say?
He's been there all his life in IndyCar and in kart. Apparently a multi-year deal, and lots of cash has been thrown at him to stay there.
Excellent.
Quite possibly from Chip Ganassi's own pocket, and PNC Bank's pocket, and Honda's pocket, and whoever else had passed the hat around at Chip Ganassi.
NTT Data.
Possibly.
Not Target.
Firestone, IndyCar, Mark Miles,
that bank.
Barfield, basically anyone.
Yeah.
There's a large hat, they pass it around, gather all the cash.
Yes, gather all the cash, put $1 in, make sure you multiply it by 1,000. Tar very much.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But Scott Dixon is staying at Chip Ganassi for the foreseeable future, possibly. All signs. Well, Robin Miller thinks it's a 1-year deal. While he waits on McLaren's future and sorts out the tea leaves there, but I don't think he leaves Chip Ganassi because there's no point really.
No.
Yeah.
He's going to end his career there where he can win titles and make lots of money. So, yeah, we'll see how long that stays. Because I'm almost certain this time next season we will be hearing the same thing.
$dollar bills, y'all.
She's actually staying with Chip Ganassi. There's also the news that they're looking at replacing Ed Jones in the number 10 as well.
Huh? He's only had 1 year in the bloody car, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, they've ironed out the driver lineup. The first car, the second car, they want to put all their ducks in a row. So,
Felix Rosenqvist, maybe?
Well, there you go. I mean, the stubborn rumor is that they keep wanting Felix Rosenqvist, and his contract at Mahindra is out at the end of the season. So, or actually, is now out. So.
Yeah, which actually could be quite interesting, because I think it's rumoured that Heidfeld might be leaving Mahindra as well.
Oh, he is leaving Mahindra.
Yeah.
But he's most certainly not coming to IndyCar.
Nah, it's going to be quite interesting indeed. But yeah, speaking of Felix Rosenqvist, he's been confirmed as driving the guest car in the Mobil 1 Porsche Super Cup round at Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, Felix Rosenqvist will probably be in the team. Wouldn't be the worst thing.
I mean,
of course, you could be wrong, and Brendan Hartley could finally come home to where he was supposed to be in the first place.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll see.
I mean, mind you, Felix does have a bit of experience in those cars back in Sweden. He's made a few guest appearances in the local Carrera Cup series there, and has, well, he's dominated.
Are you saying Felix Rosenqvist is going to be a Porsche Super Cup driver? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying he's making a one-off appearance at Spa, but the guest appearances he's done back in Sweden around places like Knutstorp.
You're just speaking things that make no sense to me, but okay.
He's done rather well, shall we say. Quite a lot of poles, quite a lot of wins.
Well, I mean, look no further than when he was in a partial Indy Lights season when it was packed and could have won the title if he'd stayed, yeah.
But then went to do DTM instead, because Mercedes lost him.
Was it DTM or was it Formula E?
It was DTM, because he'd done a part season in DTM that year for Mercedes.
That's right, it was part DTM, part Indy Lights, part FE. Yeah, it was everything, really.
Blancpain.
I think Super Formula as well that year as well.
No, Super Formula was only...
Was it the year after?
Yeah.
Ah, it was the year after, okay. He's a busy boy. I mean, he's taking drives from everyone.
Yeah, if it has wheels, and it moves, and people keep score, he'll race it.
And sticking with the IndyCar news, Connor Daly remains with Harding Racing for this weekend's race at Pocono, despite Zachary Claman-DeMello possibly being in that car, but seemingly not being in that car.
I don't think he was ever going to be in it.
Well, it says the tea leaves are saying that Claman-DeMello will be at Gateway and Portland instead. So Connor Daly gets to race again, because he can't be at Gateway thanks to him being at Road America in the Xfinity Series.
How intriguing.
So, yes, lots of things up in the air there. However, there is some breaking news.
Oh.
Literally, that's because you would have sent us.
Oh.
And that would be the 500 we were thinking of. It's
not
the Pocono
Pocono
500, and it's not the Indianapolis 500,
Bugger.
but it is in fact the Daytona 500.
God damn it!
As NASCAR has tweeted, Fernando, that's
yes, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series requests the honor of your presence at the Daytona 500. Sunday, the 17th of February, 2019. Daytona International Speedway, 1801W International Speedway,
Boulevard.
BLVD Daytona Beach FL, 52114.
Yes. Well, that's an invitation he's not going to answer. But it's nice of him to try, really.
I mean, surely they could have invited him to do the slightly longer race at Charlotte instead.
What, the Coca-Cola 600?
More endurance than the Daytona 500. It's longer.
It's because it's longer doesn't make it any good.
Well, yeah, true, it is.
I mean,
Charlotte, in fairness.
It's NASCAR.
Well, yeah, that as well, actually, come to think of it, it's NASCAR. That's the main point.
You know what they need to do is they should run the Coca-Cola 600 on their god-awful Roval. Yeah.
No, because that would actually be paramount to a form of torture, one thinks.
Would it, though? Or would it be accidentally entertaining?
What, day to night on the Rover?
Yes!
Sounds like fun. I hope they've got enough floodlights to light up the Roval. Or just light up the oval bit around the outside.
Considering that's how they're racing the road course, or the Roval rather, coming up in October, I think, under the lights.
Probably. I don't know. It's NASCAR.
Yeah,
it's NASCAR. they have races quite frequently, from what I've heard. That's about it, really. Sometimes they turn right as well as left.
Right.
Only sometimes, though.
Only
Only
yeah, like
sometimes.
Pigeon said, only sometimes.
Only
Well, we
off
all know
camera.
we all know the good NASCAR series, the Xfinity series, because they race in the wet. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And we all know that NASCAR is mostly.
oh, he got it in. Almost succeeded in not having it get in. Damn.
Yeah, better than meine Deutsche, yeah.
Oh, he got that in too. Damn.
Yes.
Oh,
Shut it
so
down.
defeated at this point. Just shut it down, boys. We're done.
Oh yes.
Just we're done. Finished. Never doing this again.
Had to do it after last time.
Jeez.
After
Speaking
last time
of
when I got cut off early.
races, as I bring this back on track, because I'm cutting you off again. There is a plethora of racing happening this weekend. Lots of it being road courses and whatnot.
And most of it being incredibly good series as well.
Well, if you don't count the NASCAR yet.
Well, apart from 2, actually.
Yeah, NASCAR and Formula 3.
Yeah, NASCAR and Formula 3, yeah.
Is Formula 3 a proper series, though?
No.
That's debatable.
Well,
No, because the chances are I'm just going to go into the... Because for the Silverstone 6 Hours weekend, they turned the Stowe circuit in the infield at Silverstone into a car park. Oh, I'm just going to look around there, to be honest. It's more interesting.
Right.
Just go and have a chat with Fernando. I'm sure he won't be busy.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't be busy. Yeah, just stick a microphone under his nose, interview him. He'll be happy to have that happen to him.
Get him in the grid chat. I'm sure he'll join.
Oh yeah, he'll love talking to us. Yeah, get him to join us. Do an improper interview. He'll be pleased. He'll be immensely pleased.
Yes. That's because I'm actually going to be at Silverstone this weekend for the World Endurance Championship and the European Le Mans Series, and paying absolutely no attention to the Formula 3, because Formula 3, as we all know, is...
I'm sorry, your Formula 3 car is rather nasally. It's more like... There you go.
Hold on. Wait a second.
Ah, there we go, the straggler.
Yeah, the driver who's clearly a paid driver there and has no
so you mean
talent.
Renee Binder?
Yeah.
Sorry, just have to pick on the slow Austrian just because it annoys Penta.
well, no, it's true though. Let's face it, Renee Binder is a bit crap in IndyCar.
A bit?
A bit? He's always in the way in IndyCar. He crashes on his own in IndyCar.
Okay, he's worse than I thought.
Well, you really haven't seen IndyCar races this season, have you?
No, that's because I don't have the correct TV package here in the UK. This is why I have to watch the half-hour highlights.
YouTube.
That's what I do.
All the races are on YouTube.
Nah, the half-an-hour highlights are enough. I know roughly what I'm talking about.
You sound exactly like someone who refuses to watch IndyCar and IMSA. I'm not naming names, but we know who that is.
But yeah, the European Le Mans Series is going to be 4-hour race at Silverstone on the Saturday and World Endurance Championship on Sunday for Silverstone 6 hours. Hopefully the P1 privateers should be a little bit closer now that they're running more power, more
oh god,
fuel,
you're talking about BOP. Ugh.
and
So there'll only
slightly
be 3
less
laps
weight on
down.
the.
There'll only be 3 laps down instead of 4.
Yeah. The Gibson engined cars from Rebellion and the Dragon Speed are actually getting a bit of a weight break as well, because they don't have to run intercoolers and all the other cooling stuff which turbocharged cars need. So yeah, hopefully everyone should be bringing their new high downforce aero, apart from Ginetta, who are bringing absolutely nothing.
I was going to say, Janetta are there. What are they bringing? A shell?
No, it's going to be like Nissan a few years back.
Oh, so then they were bringing a shell then.
Yeah, but no, that's probably not going to happen either, to be honest. Yes. That's going to be quite a fun weekend, I think.
Remember, Rob, bring hearing protection.
Yes,
Do
I'm
not
going
make
to.
your ears bleed when the Porsches go rolling by you.
Yes, given that I'm going to be watching the start from the next.
Considering there are now
on the Hangar
8 of
Straight.
them. Yeah.
Yes, I know, and I might be watching the start from the bridge by the Hangar Straight, which is what I did last year. So,
Yeah, definitely bring your hearing protection. Those Porsches will kill you.
I mean, it can't be that bad, surely.
Oh boy.
Says the person who this time last week was at an Iron Maiden concert.
Maybe that's why you're deaf now. You don't realize how loud everything is.
No, I had earplugs for that. Hearing protection for that.
Of course. You have hearing protection for a concert, but not a racing event.
Well, I haven't needed it the last 3 years.
Yeah, Dan says to take hearing protection.
Yes, I will be taking the hearing protection with me.
Good. Otherwise, we will make fun of you endlessly because you're gone deaf.
You won't be able to hear us, though, so there won't be much point.
Exactly. That means we could make fun of him. He wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
And all you just hear is me in the background shouting, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Have to have someone sign it to him.
Yeah, yeah. So that's going to be a pretty cool weekend at Silverstone. We got VLN from das Nürburgring Nordschleife.
As if it was ever going to be anywhere else, really.
Yeah, VLN, now from Hockenheim.
And now the traveling circus known as the VLN. Yeah.
The VLN, live from the Norris Room.
Oh, God.
Is that the one that goes on the city streets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, in fairness, I would actually rather like to see a GT3 race around the streets.
That would be fun. Actually, it's funny because our local newspaper here in Basingstoke, the Basingstoke Gazette, BMW junior driver Ricky Collard,
who's Australian, but go on.
He's British.
Ricky Collard is not British.
Yes, he is. He's from Hook,
Australian.
which is about 10-15 minute drive from where I live.
I thought it was Australian.
Nah. But yeah, he races for BMW and he gets mentioned in the local paper. And instead of writing Nürburgring, they wrote Nuremberg. And I just was like, hold on.
Wow.
Nuremberg? That's where the Norris ring is, and that's not for another month and a bit yet.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say about that. So VLN, and we have, of course, the GT Masters at Zandvoort, I think. Zandvoort? Yes, it is that.
Zandvoort.
Probably not worth watching. But,
shit, that hot take, bro.
I mean, it's Zandvoort.
Yeah, true. Zandvoort's a bit too narrow, in fairness.
Yeah.
It's what it is, really. But yes, the LMS from Silverstone, WEC from Silverstone, the GT Masters from Zandvoort, which you may or may not watch. Of course, the IMSA goodness from VIR, that being
WeatherTech GT classes, Continental Tire.
That being Porsche GT2 Cup Challenge, the Lamborghini Super Trofeos, Dan's favorite series, the WeatherTech Championship, and of course the Conti Challenge boys, and of course, if you can be bothered, the NASCAR as well. Very packed schedule this weekend. And I have just been told by Penta I have to take that back. So, yes.
No, you don't.
I have been told that the driver you were mentioning is indeed English, so I stand corrected.
Oh, sorry, yeah, true. Yes.
Did you mention that the Pocono race is this weekend as well for IndyCar?
I did mention that, yes. The ABC Supply 500 is this weekend, so go watch that.
Yes.
And
Rob.
Yes, Rob. And,
I'll just wait for the
other
highlights
person.
because I'll be too busy in the car, probably sleeping.
How? You're not going? Oh, you're Silverstone. Never mind.
Yeah, I am. I'm a Silverstone, so
Put it on the radio.
no, because my dad's gonna probably sink his iPod up to the stereo, which means I'll have to listen to his music. So what I do is I'll just listen to my own stuff on my phone.
Nah. Well, there you go. Listen to IndyCar Radio. Job done.
Yeah. Boom.
IMSA Radio for the win.
Boom.
Boy.
Well, I mean, give or take whichever one. But yeah, with that, we'll be ending now, and hope you guys enjoyed it. So we'll see you next week with some more of this. Actually, not more of this, because there won't be any PowerPoints. Thankfully. But yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.